I just came across this Google captcha image in the wild, and I was quite confused, per usual on captchas, because so obviously you click the top four here because they all have part of the bus, right? And you also click these four, but then you click these three. Quite frankly, I didn't know. But what I did know is that this bus was in Brazil. So there's only one logical thing to do. It's fun, okay? You wanna know why it's extra fun? If you guys don't know, captchas are all taken from Street View. But what they're not always is they're not always published. So this is likely an image from Street View, from the Street View car that has never seen the world besides the captcha. And that's because a lot of times Street View drives their car for data and records, but never actually publishes them. But sometimes the panos are taken from the car, not from Street View, right? So, and even more of a fun fact, before Vietnam was ever released, you could actually scrape Vietnam coverage from Google Street View images. Same thing with Gen 4 South Korea, fun fact. This pano, when I find it, will not actually be on Street View, and that is super fun. So we are unlocking a new pano. But first we have to find it. So I'm gonna give you guys a second to pause it to make an educated guess on what you think we're looking at. Okay, I give you a second to pause. Let me walk you through my thought process, because this does look like a pretty small context image, but really in this image there's so much context, and this will make it so easy to find, at least the general area, very, very quickly. So how did I know this was Brazil? So right here we can see we have a red tinted plate. This is very common on buses in Brazil, and well, duh, Portuguese. Doesn't take a genius to figure that out, right? So what we're going to do next is we're going to think about what the full image of this looks like, so when we start scanning, we know what to scan for. And there's one important context here that makes this super easy. All right, let's talk through a couple of things here. One, it looks like we're driving left, but Brazil does not drive left. We can think it's driving left because, well, this is the back of the car, this is the back of the bus, and, well, we're going that way because this right here would indicate, the end of the road, or like the furthest left part of the road. But that's where that actually helps us out a lot, because we also have the back of a sign right here, which means that there's also probably a road coming this way on the other side of this right here. And this bus right here is probably stopped at a bus stop, like a station that stops, that's like in the middle of the road. So what I'm imagining right now is, like, let's say it's like a road that goes like this. There's a bus station right here, and then there's a road that goes like that. All right, and then like right here is what the bus is like here, so that's kind of what I'm imagining this to look like, which is always important to kind of think in your head about the possible scenarios. I think if this back of the sign wasn't there, I would start looking for one-way roads. But since that's the back of the sign right there, which means that there's probably cars coming from this direction, I kind of feel like I'm pretty confident like this being the layout. But then the next part is like Brazil's a pretty big country, right? So how are we going to find the exact city in Brazil? Well, that's obvious. It's not obvious, but it will be obvious soon. So this is one of my favorite parts of the internet. Let me show you guys. What's it called? Shoot, what's that website called? Onibus Brazil. Is it this one? Give me a second. So there's all these like different sub niches of, maybe I have to spell it the Brazilian way. Yes. So there's all these different sub niches on the internet, right? It's the same thing as trains. There's people out there in Brazil that love buses, and for the past like 20 years have been cataloging every single bus on this website right here. It's just people talking buses, bro. Good morning, Allison. How are you? Anyways, we can see right here it says Via Livre. Apologies for my pronunciation. So I'm just gonna search Via Livre here and see if it comes up with anything. And that looks like the bus. Okay, so yes, we can confirm that bus, and it is
Recife.
That's just because the comments always come out in pronunciation, so I had to do my due diligence. I'd always pronounce this wrong, I know. I would always just say Recife or Recife. But what we can even do here is you can actually even go and find the exact bus. All right, this is the same exact bus that is in that photo right there. So 2436 Fleet on the numbering, and 2436. So 100% confirming this bus is in Pernambuco, Recife, Brazil, right? Yeah, I think you can even search somewhere on here the buses by Yeah, by its exact number, so we can look at all the images of it. So we didn't even need to find this exact bus because we also could already read via livre, I'm sorry, on the back of this bus. But now that we know where it is, we can search and look at see if they have like a line available. Usually I use Moovit, Moovit, but it looks like their website here has the line on it if it'll load. Let me connect to Brazil. I don't know if this is actually just my internet being slow or even with a VPN it's not working. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the images and hopefully it's one of these. Yeah, okay. Get scammed. Oh, come on. It's going to be like 2 pixels. Okay, there's one line here. Yeah, so it looks like the BRT line is what they're calling this. So let's see if there's a... Okay, so that's good. Yeah, move it. This is what I typically use. So it does have the... Okay, I think it's probably just on this line. And, oh, we can see here. This is the exact station. Well, probably not the station because there's probably many stations, but if we look at this, we can see the yellow. It has the same yellow paneling. Oh, that's kind of a cope, actually. I think you can see some yellow there. But also, like, the yellow here. That could just be the station that we're looking at, especially because it's, like, off the ground level. Like this. So I think that is it. And it has the same yellow curb right here. I don't think it's this station, but it could be. So it goes down the main road. All right, let's see. Obviously, we know where this is. Okay, so it goes down, it looks like this road right here. And there is bus station. So what we're going to look for is the station, or like probably not this, but a station with two, yeah, exactly like these. So it's definitely one like this, because ooh, maybe not. This is another thing that we have to think about. This is Gen 3 camera, which means that this photo was taken probably around 2016, 2017, and not more recently. So we're going to have to go back in historic imagery to get the most realistic image. So understanding your camera generations is pretty vital on finds like this. So we can go back to 2016. Yeah, so we can see in 2016 there is an overhang here. But this direction here doesn't have that sign that we're looking for, and neither does this direction. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go down. Oh, wait. It can't be. Wait. No, wait. Where did that sign go? Okay, it was added too late. I thought I had just found it on the first one. I was about to say that would be the luckiest thing of all time. But yeah, you can see when this camera was taken on the Gen 3, because of the camera quality that obviously we know wasn't there during 2016. You can see probably in Gen 4 here it starts. So okay, so it's not here. So we're gonna go keep looking at stations, and they should be marked. It should be the ones with 2 stations because they get off on each side. So we can just scan here. Looks like it was even built in like 2015. But also what's confusing me is that if we look at the pavement here, we can start looking for this white line, and it looks like the pavement is consistent at least across 2 lanes. But we can see in this image right here that this is like only half a lane, so it can't even be here. So that's interesting. We have to look for pavement that goes out a little bit further. It has to be a 2-lane road, so it can't be there. Can't be those. Maybe here? No. They need to start marking better. What we also could do, actually, now that I think about it. Oh, why am I'm so silly. Okay. All right, Seth. So you can see here the code that GPT wrote was, yeah, just defines the arena, and then basically just gives us, I said only give me only give me bus stations with buildings, which is basically just a building or like anything besides a shelter, like a awning wouldn't be considered a building. So I think we looked at these right here. So I'm just gonna start looking. It's not gonna be these down here because these are on the train station or on the train line. So those aren't the right buildings. So it's gonna be one of these along the line that we saw right here. That goes across with the stations. So I'm just gonna start from west and go east because that's the most logical way of thinking. So. think that's it. Selfie. I am pretty sure this is it. Let me confirm. As you can see here, these are all the public days that this was actually released. And you can see that it probably got built in 2016, 2017. So there will be no pano anywhere here. Oh yeah, this is definitely it. This is the white line. So that photo is actually probably taken in 2018. But we can't even get close to really... Let me see if I can get better look here. Yeah, there's not... It was probably more than likely taken November 2018. You can see the back of the sign right there. We have the same solid white line in the middle right here. It's the same sign right here, and then this right here is that right there behind the bus. So nice. I think that took me a lot longer than expected, honestly, because I had to sit there and scan through every single bus stop, because you can't really skip something on something like that. There could have been something I missed that could have made that faster, like delete your comment. Delete your comment, just delete it. I know. The first thing I mentioned, I was just editing this back, and it was the hardest edit of my life because I'm cringing at myself the entire time. If you caught it, congrats. I mentioned how important it was to write out what you think the road looks like. And notice how on this road right here, I mentioned it was curved. And then what did I do? I'd go on and scan every single bus station on the straight as an arrow road. And then in the first bus station that was actually off the straight road was actually the correct bus station. Realistically, I probably could have found that in 30 seconds, but I fast forwarded it, but the video was like 4 minutes long, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but kind of a blunder on my end, but hindsight Andy. We have officially found unreleased Street View imagery. How fun. It's just a kind of fun little exercise here. It showed you guys a couple different parts of the internet and kind of how I find things, but very, very fun. Hope you guys enjoyed.